Look at your paycheck. Every single month, a huge chunk of your money is quietly siphoned off to fund your pension. You were told that money is going into a safe, secure vault, slowly growing until you turn 65. But today, we need to erase that imaginary vault from the whiteboard, because your pension is not a savings account. By its exact mathematical definition, it is a legally protected pyramid scheme. And the terrifying truth that nobody wants to tell you? The foundation of this pyramid is actively collapsing right now. If a private citizen pitched you a business model where they take your fresh cash today just to pay off the older investors from yesterday, you would immediately call the police. You would recognize it as a massive financial crime. But when the government or a massive corporate fund does it, they simply call it a pension. A pyramid scheme works by taking cash from the brand new investors at the bottom and handing it directly to the people at the top. It produces absolutely no real value. It just moves money upward, and it relies on one fatal flaw. It requires an endless supply of new blood at the bottom to stay alive. Now, look closely at the government-mandated retirement system. Look at Social Security and the massive national pension funds. When that retirement tax is deducted from your paycheck today, it does not go into a personal savings account. It is not being saved for your future. It goes into a massive funnel, and within days, it is handed directly to the people who are currently retired. You are the new investor at the bottom of the pyramid. You are working 50 hours a week to pay for the generation above you, while holding on to the blind, desperate hope that decades from now, a brand new generation of young workers will be forced to do the exact same thing for you. By its pure mathematical definition, the modern retirement system operates on the exact same mechanical foundation as a pyramid scheme. This is exactly why your pension is mathematically doomed. A pyramid scheme only survives if the bottom keeps getting wider. But there is a terrifying glitch happening globally right now. The base of our population is actively shrinking. The new blood has stopped flowing. The foundation is crumbling beneath your feet as we speak. The collapse is not some future prediction. It is happening right now, today, and you are the one who is about to be left holding the empty bag. Let us go back in time for a moment. When the government first designed this retirement system nearly a century ago, the math actually looked pretty good on paper. Back then, the pyramid was perfectly healthy. For every one retired person sitting at the top, there were more than 40 young, strong workers down at the bottom paying into the system. It was a massive, wide foundation carrying a very tiny peak. On top of that, average life expectancy was much lower. People retired, collected their checks for a few short years, and then they passed away. The system was swimming in cash. But fast forward to today, and two massive demographic shifts have completely broken the equation. First, modern medicine happened. People are living much longer. Suddenly, the retirees at the top of the pyramid are not just staying for a few years. They are pulling money out of the system for 20 or 30 years. The peak of the pyramid has become incredibly heavy, swollen with a massive generation that needs constant financial support. Second, and most importantly, the bottom of the pyramid completely stopped growing. Why? Because the modern economy became too expensive to survive in. As we have discussed before, stagnant wages, massive corporate monopolies, and artificial inflation have destroyed the purchasing power of the working class. Today, young people are struggling just to pay basic rent and buy groceries. They simply cannot afford to have 3 or 4 children like their grandparents did. Because of this, the global birth rate has crashed. The fresh blood has stopped flowing into the bottom of the machine. Now, picture our whiteboard drawing. Watch the wide, stable pyramid slowly flip completely upside down. Today, we are rapidly approaching a terrifying reality where there are only 2 or 3 workers supporting each retiree. Soon, it will be a 1-to-1 ratio. Imagine a massive, heavy, giant concrete top balancing on a tiny, fragile point at the bottom. That fragile point is you. You are being mathematically crushed under the weight of an inverted pyramid. You are paying high taxes to sustain a broken model that will have absolutely nothing left to give you when it is your turn to stop working. But do not think the government is the only villain in this story. When workers realize the public pension system is collapsing, they naturally panic. They run straight into the arms of the private sector. They start pouring their paychecks into private retirement accounts and 401k plans, begging Wall Street for safety. What they do not realize is that Wall Street has built its very own version of the pyramid. And this private scheme is controlled directly by the silent S-tier mega-corporations we exposed in our last video. When people realize the government pyramid is collapsing, they desperately look for an escape hatch. They are told the only safe alternative is the private stock market. They open private retirement accounts, like a 401k, and finally feel a sense of control. They think they are finally building their own personal wealth, but they are actually just stepping into a second, much more sophisticated trap. Think about how these private retirement funds actually work. Every single month, millions of workers automatically deduct a percentage of their paycheck and send it straight into the stock market. They do this blindly. They do not check the price of the stocks. They do not analyze the economy. It is an automatic pilot system that guarantees billions of dollars flow into Wall Street every 2 weeks, no matter what happens in the real world. This creates an ocean of infinite, guaranteed cash. And who is standing at the edge of this ocean, managing all of this money? The S-tier megacorporations, the faceless asset managers we talked about in our previous video, like BlackRock and Vanguard. When you put your money into a standard retirement fund, you are handing your financial power directly to them. They take your hard-earned money and use it to buy shares in the biggest companies on earth. But here is the sickest part of the entire trick. They get all the power, but you take 100% of the risk. If the stock market crashes tomorrow and your retirement account loses half of its value, S-tier does not care. They still collect their guaranteed management fees every single year. They get rich whether you win or lose. They are playing in a casino using your chips and keeping the house cut for themselves. But it gets worse. Because they control the shares bought with your money, they get the voting rights in the corporate boardrooms. They use the massive voting power of your retirement money to force companies to fire workers, cut benefits, and keep wages low, all just to artificially pump the stock price higher. You are literally taking part of your paycheck and handing it over to the exact same people who are actively trying to keep you poor. You are financing the very corporate machine that makes your daily life miserable. Both the public government pension and the private Wall Street funds are pyramids. They were meticulously designed to extract your value and ensure you never actually leave the hamster wheel. You are funding your own enslavement. So, when the demographics fail and the financial markets are rigged against you, what happens when the entire structure finally crumbles? What is left for the people at the bottom? So, what happens when the government pyramid finally runs completely out of cash? What happens when there are simply not enough young workers to pay for the massive generation of retirees at the top? Politicians will never go on television and admit that the system is bankrupt. That would cause instant chaos. Instead, they will use the ultimate hidden tax to cover up the crime. They will simply turn on the money printers and create trillions of new dollars out of thin air to pay the older generation. But there is a fatal consequence to this. When you print infinite money, the currency rapidly loses its value. By the time you finally reach retirement age, the government might actually keep their promise and send you a check every single month. But because of the extreme engineered inflation, that check will barely be enough to buy a week's worth of groceries. The numbers on your banking app might look high, but your actual purchasing power will be completely destroyed. This is the final illusion of the retirement matrix. You are trading your most valuable asset, your youth, your health, and your daily time, for a mathematically broken promise printed on Fiat paper. The entire structure was built to keep you working until the day you die. But you do not have to accept this fate. Look at our whiteboard one last time. Look at the heavy chains connecting the worker at the bottom to the crushing weight of the pyramid above. On the screen, a simple pair of black scissors appears. It snaps shut, cutting the chain. The worker steps away, finally free from the structure. You cannot depend on the top of the pyramid to take care of you. You cannot trust Wall Street asset managers to protect your future. If you want to survive the inevitable collapse of this demographic scheme, you need to build your own vault. A vault that is completely isolated from their fiat currency and their corporate control. And that is exactly why I created the Phantom Protocol. This is not a book about getting rich quick. It is a brutal, practical survival manual for the modern worker. It is designed to help you stop funding the system, protect your privacy, and build real, tangible wealth outside of their digital matrix. If you are finally ready to stop being the foundation of someone else's pyramid, the link to the Phantom Protocol is in the pinned comment below. Stop feeding the machine, cut your strings, step out of the fish tank, and I will see you on the outside.